In this video, I'm going to take you through the process of building this cool cannabis accent light, we'll call it, which I should have built with a longer power cord. You can swap that out, but it's got a nice 3D printed stand with a place for your remote and your manual. Can be controlled with your phone or the remote. But the first step, I'll take you through the Fusion 360 programming and we'll go from there. So to start out, I got an image of a cannabis leaf and had one of the image model generators, I think it was maybe Claude, to generate a 3D model of the leaf. So I took this, sized it to the size that I wanted, and printed it out on the 3D printer with translucent filament. That way the light will shine through it. So that was the first step. Then I took the outline of this and projected the outline onto a body, a board. And if I can find, yes. So projected that onto the board. And then if I go to the manufacturer sections, so I have my piece sized. It's basically going to be walnut, and I'm basically going to cut out the outline of the leaf. Well, let's just run all of these together. You can see the whole thing being cut out. So I'm basically coming in and I'm cutting one pocket all the way through, and then I'm leaving a little bit of an edge so that the leaf can sit on there. And then of course it cuts out the profile. The second step is for the, well, let's go through. The ring is simply I sized it the same as that cutout. I think I made it 10 millimeters wide, 15 millimeters high. And this will be also 3D printed in that translucent filament that will raise up that base and give it the give the base a glow of that ring. The next was the base that ring sits into, and this will have, so you'll have the profile of the ring cut in, and then I also have pockets for these lifts with the LEDs will be placed onto. I'll get it at some point. There we go. So we've got a 30-degree lift and a 20-degree lift. And those will also be printed out on the 3D printer in a solid filament. And that's just for the LEDs to sit on, and they will angle the LEDs so that it bounces around and provides a fuller illumination of the whole object. And if I go to manufacture and go to this setup, so we can see, I'll run these. So this is basically going to cut the ring and it's also going to cut out these pockets. And so it's just, I think it's maybe 1 millimeter deep for the ring and maybe 1 millimeter deep for these, for the lifts, for the lights. That's it for Fusion 360. So the next, I believe, so I'll have the cut out the circle from walnut, and it's going to leave about I want to say maybe 1 millimeter, 1.5 millimeters on the bottom, so it doesn't cut all the way through. And I take that and then I run it through a drum sander to basically release the circle from the rest of the wood, the base.
Been through all these years.
We're going to glue the outline of the leaf onto the ring, which will then be glued into a recess in the base after I get all the wiring and the LEDs in place. Because this is basically plastic, it's PLA, it's a standard 3D filament. So basically plastic, and then wood, obviously. And this I'm going to seal with an epoxy, this JB Weld stuff, which I've never used before. So we're gonna see how that works. Let me grab some paper towels. I've not used it before, but it was recommended to have a good adherence between plastic and wood. So it's got this mix on the fly, I guess, little applicator. Now, one thing I'm assuming is once I use this once, it's probably done, because the epoxy is going to mix in here and then cure in here, and that'll be it. So I'm assuming I'm going to get one use out of this, which is not ideal, but I just don't think it's gonna, I don't think there's any way to clear that out after I use it once, because I'm not going to use this whole container. Maybe if I spray water through it, force water through it, maybe. Well, we'll think about that. So let's see. Oh, there you go. That closes the syringe. And maybe you can buy extra ones of these. So all right, so clear plastic tip. Before attaching the mixer, push down the plunger till both parts come out of the syringe, then wipe, tape clean, dispose. Line the mixer over the syringe tip, press down, twist to lock into place. Material sets in about 5 minutes, cures in an hour. So I want to dispense just a little bit before I commit. I want to see how fast it comes out, if it's mixed. So let's see. So when I get this off, snap off the clear plastic tip at the bottom of the syringe. There we go. That's easy. Yep. Already coming out. All right, push down the plunger until both parts come out of the syringe, then wipe clean. Okay, so I guess you're supposed to, the air bubbles out maybe. There we go, yeah. And both parts are coming out. That's good. So now, line the mixer over the syringe, tip, press down, twist. Which way do you twist? There we go. Okay. So now what happens is it's got like an internal mixing channel. I have a feeling I'm going to get this all over me before the end of this. So it mixes it in this little applicator, which is kind of cool. All right. And then what's going to come out is the mixed. All right. So now let's see. Move all this out of the way. And I don't necessarily need a lot of pressure on here, but I do want to hold it in place. So I just got my little wood clamp thing. So I'm going to line it up and then just put it in there just to hold some pressure so that there's no gaps. But I think what I'm going to do, and this is pretty rough on this side, so I think I'm good there. So let's just get a, how easy is this going to be? Yeah, there we go. So we're just going to put a small bead down the middle of this, because I don't need a lot. I just need it to hold it in place. It's not like there's going to be any forces besides just the weight of the attachment. I'm trying to get it in the roughly in the center. And there we go. So again, I used a tiny bit of this, and we'll see if I can salvage. Maybe it won't cure. My experience is that these things, you use them once and then you come back to try and do it a month later and it's just solid. So got a 5-minute cure time, so I don't want to dilly-dally around, as they say. So I just want to line that as best as I can. And we'll pop it on here, get it relatively centered. And I didn't want a lot because I didn't want it squeezing out, but it looks like I'm getting some squeeze out, which is inevitable. And just make sure that's centered is the main thing. Looks like maybe I didn't get the bead centered on this side. Just kind of squeezing out the side. Okay, so now like I said, just trying to get it centered. Getting a little squeeze out. Like I said, I don't need a lot of pressure. I just want to keep it roughly in place. And hopefully, like, I don't want to have a bead of epoxy around the side. So I'm trying to wipe off any that's coming squeezing out and make sure it's centered. Which, yeah, it's pretty good. It's a little bit farther on the side like, you know, there's a very small 16th of a, no, not even a 16th. Close enough for government work, as they say. So that will sit there. And what is the cure time on this thing? So 5-minute working time, cures in about an hour. Wait 24 hours. Okay, so store and reuse. If there's leftover epoxy in the syringe, remove the mixer and apply the cap to the tip for later use. For use without the mixer, dispense postpart in mixing tray 60 seconds. Remove mixer and apply the cap. So again, I don't think I can reuse this mixing tip, which is a bummer, unless, you know, like I say, somehow maybe I can force water through there. It seems like they would tell you. So I can use that. Does that go on there? There we go. So hopefully this part will be able to be used again. But the mixing syringe, can I blow it out? I want to get epoxy in my mouth. But maybe, let's see. Nope. Get a little bit out. I don't know. There's got to be some way to get that out of there. If they had like a just syringe with air and you could just push the rest of it out of there. But maybe it's not mixed until it comes out. I will continue to ponder on this for the next 3 weeks, going in my head, obsessing about how to save this little tip thing mixer. But until next time, we've got that glued up. The next, I'm going to machine the base, put my logo on the back there. I'm going to machine a ring for that ring to sit into, and that one I'm going to just tack with silicone so that I can get it off of there if I ever need to service the LEDs. I may machine a pocket in the back for the controller, which I just got that in. Yeah, so the standard controllers that I use on all of them, all of my wacky projects, the 6P63XE series LED controller. And what I may do is machine, it's about, what is that, 3/4 of an inch thick. So what I might do, since that base is so thick, I might machine a pocket, at least partially down, to inset that into the back of the piece. So we'll think about that later. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you enjoy this kind of stuff, please leave a like and subscribe. Comment below. Let me know what kind of stuff you're working on, what kind of stuff you think I should build.
All these fears. You don't know, yet you always understand. Don't you know that seasons change? People come and people go.
So here's where we are with the cannabis light. I've got the reflective material inside the base and the leaf riser, I guess you call it. And I've got these are going to be lifts for the LED lights to angle them in the base here. So they'll fit in these slots. And there's one, this is angled at like 30 degrees, and this is angled at 20 degrees. And I've got
2 of each. So they'll sit in these pockets. I'll glue them down, and then the LED lights will sit on these angled risers. That way the LEDs will be bouncing off at an angle and hopefully illuminate the whole thing better than if it were just flat on the surface. As LEDs are very directional, so again, there's only so much where it's going to shine through, so I'm trying to get it to bounce off as much as possible. And I'm going to use these strip LEDs again. I've got to basically cut these to length for each one of these and then wire them together. And I'll probably have one in the middle, maybe facing straight up. So it'll probably be 1, 2, 3, so 5, 10, 15, 20, roughly 25 LEDs. And I made this riser, I think it's 15 millimeters high. So this will sit here in that groove. And like I say, hopefully with the angled lifts, it'll cause the LEDs to bounce around more universally than in the other sign that I did where they were flat. Although that, you know, in hindsight, it turned out fine. However, I think it could be more, I could get the spread of the light more even by doing the angled. So we'll see. And I need to basically glue that onto there. And then this will be tacked down with silicone so that I can access the LEDs if I need to. And that'll be basically your finished product there. And because I can't, so once this is all glued down, I can't route the edges. And same thing with finishing. And I talked about this in another video. I went ahead and routed the edges on here. And however, I left this one corner because that's the corner I used my origin device, the bit setter origin device on the carbide machine. So this thing sits in the corner and allows you to get the origin for your job. And so I left this undone so that that bit setter sets stably on there. So need to finish, just route that final edge, then wire this up, drill some holes to attach the controller, and make a back plate for it. That'll be it.
Even though we cannot change, but we go back to where it all, go back to where it all began. One by one, I'm picking pieces off the floor. Two by two, floating softly to the shore. You and me, and we're never going back. Don't you know that seasons change? Well, people come and people go, they come and then they go. Don't you know that reasons change? Well, we go back to what we know, go back to what we know. Even though we cannot change, but we go back.
Update on our cannabis sign. Light. It's night light, really not a sign. So I've got the controller all wired up. And I've got my 3D printed back cover that sits there. And I've got the front finished and oiled. So the next step after the back, I'll glue this top on there. But for now, we're gonna put our back plate on there. And I've got a little notch cut out for the power supply cord. So we'll plug that in. And make sure all the wires are not pinched. Put that the right way. Oh, that's why. So it's a bit of a tight fit, but just want to make sure I don't crimp any of the wires. All right. If you know anybody that owns a smoke shop that would be interested in something like this, feel free to share this with them, forward it, and they can get in touch with me if they want to have their own very own cannabis nightlight for their shop. So nice, gives it a nice clean finished look on the back. And make sure there's no wires being crimped. And now we'll go ahead and plug it in just to make sure we haven't broken anything. Success. And now we can I'm going to tack this on with silicone so that if I ever have to get in here and change lights, add more lights, do whatever, I can get to it. But that is going to sit in there. Like that. We're going to go ahead and glue the face with the leaf onto the base. So the base I've machined it's probably 1 millimeter deep that matches the profile of this ring. And as always, I've never had a problem with the LEDs going bad or having to replace stuff, but if I glue this in with epoxy, I'll never get it out without destroying the whole thing. However, if I tack it on with silicone, it holds it in place, pretty strong hold, but if you ever need to get in there, you can pry it off without destroying the whole thing. So that's what I'm going to use to attach it. And I use just 100% clear silicone. What I hate about these things is you got this nice applicator that you use it once, and no matter what, you can seal that up with everything. Eventually this all dries out and it becomes useless. So it'd be nice to have that little applicator, but such is life. So I'm just going to put just beads every few inches. Like I say, I just need enough to hold it in place and give it, you know, it's going to be sturdy, but it won't be glued on there permanently. And I think I'm going to, yeah, I'll just apply it to the plastic here. And I'm just going to use my fingers. And I just need a bit. And I'm going to go closer to the inside because I don't want it squeezing out on the outside. If it squeezes out on the inside, it's not a big deal. But I don't want it to come out on the outside because you'll see that and it'll mess up the otherwise beautiful presentation of the leaf. Now the trick is going to be to get it centered and not crimp any of the wires. So we're going to push these out of the way a little bit. Don't really see any gaps. And I'm afraid if I clamp one side, it'll pull it. So I think I'm just going to leave it. And I think it's kind of hard because the stem is not exactly 90 degrees with the main leaf. So it's not perfectly symmetrical, but I think that looks good. And maybe I'm going to go ahead and just tape it just for, did it come off? No. All right. I'm going to quit messing with it. And just put a little tape just to make sure that it doesn't move on me. I'll let that cure, and we'll come back and see what it looks like all lit up. So here is the completed cannabis light. Let me turn off the overhead. In full bright light, it's still pretty bright considering how bright the light that I'm under is. But I'm going to go ahead and cut off this the overhead light. Hopefully you'll see a little better the glowing nature. So I'm overall pretty pleased with the way it turned out. It's all controllable. You can control it with your phone. There's a little app, and then there's also a remote control that you can use to turn it different colors. You can set it to solid colors, and there's a bunch of different programs that you can run through. And you can also set it to be triggered by music, and it'll pulse with music. You got your back panel. Basically hides all the wiring in the controller. And the printer is right now printing the stand. It will, I'll do another video for that, but it's basically going to sit, it'll have a stand that it can sit on. You could hang it from the wall if you wanted to. You could put a bar, you know, a piece of wood with, you know, hangers or whatever here. But I think it's probably meant more just to sit on a desk or a, you know, a kiosk or something. So let me know what you think in the comments, and let me know what you think I should build next. So we finished our cannabis leaf nightlight. We've got everything wired up. We've got our nice cavity control back cover that covers all the electronics. And we've got our 3D printed stand. I'll show that in a minute. Well, let's get this guy turned on so you can see what it looks like all lit up. So right now it's set to a cycling through all the colors, and you can also set it to a solid color, like we'll set it to a solid green or solid white. You can also have it pulse to music. If your music is playing, it'll pulse the music. And there's a ton of different animations, we'll call them. And that all comes standard with the little remote, the ES, what is the name of the controller? The SP630E controller. The stand is just 3D printed. And I've got a little pocket for the remote to sit in. And then I've just got the manuals for the remote and the LED controller, and it shows you how to connect it to your phone. And that sits like that. So if you know anybody that has a smoke shop or a stoner with some extra cash, point them to my Etsy store. This will be on there shortly. I think it came out pretty cool. So let me know what you think in the comments, and we'll see you next time.